Every time the Imperium of Man and its nature are brought into discussion, it's all too common to stumble into the familiar pitfalls. By this, I mean the tendency to label the faction as inherently evil, a notion pervasive throughout the Warhammer 40k universe. However, I find such a characterization to be a gross oversimplification of the circumstances and the broader situation confronting both the faction and humanity as a whole. Certainly, there are aspects of the Imperium that are undeniably negative and devoid of any redeeming qualities. Examples abound, such as the exploitation of the average Imperial citizen by the nobility or the labyrinthine bureaucracy that renders the Imperium ineffective in safeguarding all its worlds and subjects. Yet, amidst the darkness, there are instances where the brutality and callousness often associated with the Imperium of Man, while not justifiable, become at least somewhat understandable. Foremost among these is the Inquisition, an organization frequently linked with unyielding brutality. In truth, the Inquisition represents a necessary evil, with many of its seemingly malevolent actions serving to protect humanity at large. The ruthless extermination or suppression of individuals even remotely tainted by chaos may be the only viable means to halt the insidious spread of corruption that chaos can unleash, potentially consuming entire worlds and even entire solar systems in its wake. Similarly, the drastic measure of exterminatus, eradicating an entire world and its population, while severe, may be deemed necessary to spare countless other worlds from an even grimmer fate. Today, I aim to delve into these complex issues and question the indispensable nature of the Imperium of Man for the survival of humanity within the galaxy. I propose an exploration of alternate timelines and possibilities, a world where the Emperor of Mankind never intervened after the Age of Strife, where humanity is left to fend for itself. Let us contemplate how the galaxy and humanity itself would unfold in the absence of the Imperium of Man. To substantiate my argument, I propose we initiate this discourse by shedding light on the most formidable existential peril humanity could confront in the absence of the Emperor of Mankind's guidance. Let us speculate on how chaos would encroach upon humanity in the absence of the Imperium of Man. During the Age of Strife, humanity regressed to its primal and violent nature. Many worlds fell under the dominion of techno-barbarian warlords who ruthlessly quashed any semblance of opposition or resistance on their planets. However, this regression was not without cause. Following the cybernetic revolt, humanity found itself in dire straits as the technology it heavily relied upon turned against it completely. Moreover, the perpetual warp storms preceding the birth of Slaanesh rendered warp travel impossible. Consequently, humanity not only lacked the technological means to adapt to this terrifying new reality, but also the basic ability to establish potential trade routes, disrupting all symbiotic relationships between its colonies. Resources became exceedingly scarce, triggering chaos and wars over the meager resources available on some colonies. Chaos seized the opportunity presented by such strife to corrupt humanity. Moreover, the Sea of Souls' influence on real space became significantly more pronounced after the birth of Slaanesh and the creation of the Eye of Terror. During this period, the chaotic energies of the Imperium engulfed real space, resulting in rampant mutation and an increase in both the frequency and potency of psychers. Consequently, humanity found itself contending with warp powers much more frequently. This explains why mutants and psychers are not only despised by the Imperium, but also by many surviving human colonies from the Age of Strife. Prejudice emerged out of necessity as a survival mechanism because the corruptive influence of chaos on mutants and psychers could damn entire worlds. This prejudice against mutants and witches by the Imperium of Man stemmed from the imperative to avert potential devastation if left unchecked. This imperative also underpinned the Emperor of Mankind's adoption of an atheistic approach through the imperial truth. All forms of faith were not only perceived as divisive to the Imperium, but also susceptible to corruption by chaos, posing a threat to what the Emperor sought to establish. The eradication of religion was deemed necessary not only to unify humanity, but also to shield it against the seductions of chaos. Without the Imperium to suppress many of these religions, humanity would succumb to the influence of the Chaos Gods, ultimately damning the worlds where they were allowed to proliferate. While I may disagree with the methods employed by the Emperor, as I discussed in my "The Emperor is Wrong About Religion" video, I can certainly comprehend why such an approach was chosen, even if it was exceedingly heavy-handed. To completely reverse my argument, let's now delve into two notably successful human societies that suffered the harshness of the Imperium of Man. Let's start with the Diasporex. This xeno-human alliance, thriving as nomads, embraced a wandering lifestyle, likely out of necessity, seeking refuge from the horrors unleashed during the Age of Strife. They utilized colossal solar energy collectors to power their ships and maintained a society seemingly untouched by the taint of chaos, with humans and their Xenos counterparts coexisting harmoniously. However, their existence was brutally extinguished by the Iron Hands and Emperor's children. Had it not been for the Imperium's draconian laws regarding aliens, the Diasporex could have emerged as one of the few human societies to not only survive, but thrive during and beyond the Age of Strife, perhaps evolving into one of the last bastions of humanity in the galaxy. Nevertheless, their nomadic lifestyle was never a viable solution for mankind as a whole, given humanity's sheer numbers. Their compact size lent them stealth, aiding their survival until their encounter with the Imperium. While they may have possessed little knowledge about the powers of chaos, they were potentially vulnerable to corruption in the long run, albeit this remains largely speculative. In stark contrast, the Interex present a completely different scenario. They possessed a keen awareness of chaos and its insidious influence, dedicating themselves to its eradication, or at the very least, resisting the Chaos Gods. The Interex epitomized an ideal human society, cohabitating with the alien Kinnebrach. Unlike the Diasporex, the Interex could have indeed offered a solution to humanity's survival. Their advanced technology, noble ideals, and profound understanding of chaos could have paved the way for humanity's resurgence. Their way of life embodied the last vestige of what humanity could aspire to become. There are scant arguments against their lifestyle. In my view, the Interex surpassed the Imperium of Man in every conceivable aspect. If all of humanity were to emulate their example, perhaps they could flourish. Without the Imperium to obliterate them, the Interex might have represented humanity's greatest hope for survival. Without the Imperium's guidance, the Interex could have stood as the ultimate bastion of humanity enduring in the galaxy. The Aeldari are perhaps one of the two Xeno factions that have significantly benefited from the existence of the Imperium of Man. Due to their own descent into depravity, the Aeldari inadvertently birthed Slaanesh, who not only obliterated their once mighty empire, but also condemned all Aeldari souls to eventual consumption by Slaanesh, had they not taken precautions such as the use of spirit stones to safeguard their souls. For the Aeldari, every interaction with the Sea of Souls teems with potential danger, with Slaanesh fixated on them. However, concerning humanity and the Imperium, the Aeldari have largely survived due to humanity presenting a unified front. You see, humanity and the Aeldari share common enemies in the galaxy, yet the Aeldari lack the numerical strength to engage in battles of attrition against these foes. Consequently, they manipulate and utilize humanity to combat many of these enemies on their behalf. Without the Imperium of Man and its vast numbers to confront potential threats, the Aeldari would be compelled to engage in many of these battles themselves, risking irreparable harm. Ironically, the Imperium functions as a colossal shield for the Aeldari more often than one might assume. Therefore, without the Imperium, the Aeldari would suffer significantly. This rationale also underpins the Inari's efforts to resurrect a certain Primarch. Following the heresy, all Primarchs would recognize the immense threat posed by chaos and collaborate with the Aeldari for the mutual benefit of both species. The Drukhari also benefit from the existence of the Imperium, but in an entirely different manner. Humanity constitutes their easiest and most favored targets in the galaxy. Due to the Imperium's massive size and the overall incompetence of its rulers, it is a bureaucratic nightmare and thus slow to respond to Drukhari raids. This renders humans easy prey for their perversions. Considering that the Drukhari need to prey on others to survive, this implies that, indirectly, humanity's survival is also intertwined with theirs. In a world without the Imperium, where humanity has largely succumbed to the influence of chaos, the Drukhari would lack the surplus of prey they currently enjoy. Ironically, much like their cousins, they also depend on humanity for survival, albeit in a depraved and twisted manner, as is characteristic of the Dark Eldar. In the case of the Necrons, to be honest, not much would change for them. In a galaxy without the Imperium, they would stand as the strongest faction by a significant margin, a position they arguably already hold. Possessing technology that far surpasses any other factions, even during the Dark Age of technology, humanity struggled to contend with them on this front. Without the Imperium, the Necrons would likely emerge as the primary faction capable of confronting the Tyranids, perhaps the only true counter to their unrelenting hunger. The Orks, on the other hand, present a far more intriguing scenario. The Emperor of Mankind's urgency in launching the Great Crusade had a specific impetus, and that impetus is strongly implied to be the Ork Empire in Ulanor. The conflict against this Ork Empire marked the final engagement of the Great Crusade, in which the Emperor personally participated before retreating to Terra to focus on the Webway project. The rationale behind this urgency lies in the Orks' potential reversion into Krorks, their more evolved form from the War in Heaven. Evidence suggests that the Orks of Ulanor were more intelligent, stronger and larger than their counterparts elsewhere in the galaxy. This Ork Empire posed a significant threat of destruction and chaos for humanity and numerous other Xeno species in the galaxy. The Emperor's haste is believed to stem from the limited window of time available to prevent the Orks from completing their evolution. Therefore, without the Emperor to confront the Ork menace, the galaxy could very well have faced domination, if not outright rule, by the Orks. Perhaps in the absence of the Imperium, the Orks would have emerged as the single greatest threat to all within the galaxy. The Tau Empire occupies a distinctly unique position within the galactic landscape. Due to their inherently dim souls, they do not hold much appeal for the powers of chaos and thus remain largely overlooked by them. Consequently, even in the absence of the Imperium, the Tau could likely survive in their corner of the galaxy without significant issue. However, the situation changes drastically if they seek to expand their influence beyond their current borders, a goal they already pursue. The Tau are ill-equipped to confront the powers of chaos, and their lack of psychic prowess exacerbates their lack of understanding, albeit affording them some protection. Attempting to sway humans to embrace the greater good could potentially attract the attention of chaos, redirecting it from the more susceptible humans to the Tau themselves. Despite their dim souls, The Tau are not immune to corruption by chaos. They are merely overlooked because humans are a more abundant and enticing target, rich in both numbers and energy potential. Without the Imperium, the Tau Empire would confront a significantly more challenging scenario. Similar to the Aeldari, they currently lack the numerical strength to confront many of the galaxy's threats. Nonetheless, their technological prowess has been rapidly advancing, suggesting that they may yet thrive, even in such a hostile environment. I didn't delve into the Votan because they've essentially secluded themselves for the past 10,000 years, resulting in minimal impact on the galaxy. Moreover, I lack sufficient knowledge to discuss their potential fate in this scenario. Interestingly, this video began as Imperial propaganda, but evolved into something more nuanced as I pondered its implications. I hope you found it engaging. I certainly did. Now, I'm eager to hear your opinions. Do you agree with the points raised in this discussion, or do you offer a different perspective? Since this is a speculative topic, I genuinely value your input. If you enjoyed the video, please consider leaving a like and subscribing. Your support means a lot. Have a fantastic week.